Yahushai B'Hashem Ruach HaKodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is Beware of That Unity Demon. But before we get started on the lesson, I just want to say that I normally, the brother Corner Wath from the New York camp just uploaded the new moon video, which will be coming out next week. And I don't have a way of downloading videos yet, to be able to upload it to my page. Usually, he puts it up, it lets me know that he put it up live, and then I'll take it and download it and put it on my page, and other brothers download it and put it on their pages. So I ask you brothers out there, Babakusha, spread the word. The brother right now is on the case, sending the video out to brothers. If the brother happens to be watching this video right now, the brother Corner Watt from the New York camp, Babakusha, if you can post the link on this channel or on this live comment section, so brothers and sisters can get to the new moon page, that he has, where he specifically puts up the new moons, high holy days and such up. So Babakusha, if you could do that, I would appreciate it. And if he's not on here watching, then you brothers that know his page, where it's at, Babakusha, if you could download it, if you can copy and paste on here so that others can get to it. But I will not be able to post the new moons on here, because I don't have a way of doing that yet. If I do find a way to do it, then Lord's will, I will. I see Tazama put something about here it is, but I don't see any link or anything, but you brothers, Babakusha, pass it on, and then you brothers out there, just take it, download it, upload it to your pages, do one of those community things, where you can let the community, so-called community, know. I don't like using that term, but I forget what it's called. It's a post you could put up that other brothers get on the new moons. This new moon coming up will be the also the feast of memorial of blowing up the trumpets, and let's see, August, yeah, there should be the memorial of blowing of the trumpets, because what's today's date? Let me see. Today is the 8th, so the new moon will be coming out next week, which, like I said, that will be the memorial of blowing of the trumpets. Then 9 days later, 10 days later will be the Day of Atonement, so be prepared for that. These all will be uploaded to the brother's video, and like I said, Lord's will, I can at least get the link and put it in the comment section when the video is uploaded. So with that being said, I wanted to do a lesson. I wanted to do this lesson yesterday, so I want to apologize. I wasn't able to do it yesterday. Yesterday was a pretty kind of a rough day for me, so Babakusha, please forgive me for that. But working it through. But I wanted to do this lesson yesterday, but I didn't get a chance to. Lord's will, today I can do 2 videos, or however many the Lord allows me to, to make up for the day that I missed. I hate missing days, of doing videos, but unfortunately yesterday was not a very good day for me. I'll just say it that way. But anyway, that being said, this lesson is inspired by a video that I was watching, how the U.S. stole Puerto Rico. It's a 21-minute and 5-second video. And they pretty much went on into how the island of Puerto Rico was pretty much annexed to America. It was pretty much taken from the Spanish and given to America under the guise that they were there to help Ephraim, pretty much, but they weren't. They were just there to exploit the resources, so on and so forth. And that whole toxic environment, breeded hatred among Ephraim against Esau, and caused certain ones of them to come together in a revolutionary, type of movement, directed by Pedro Albizu Campos, which was an Ephraimite that came from a poor family, and he became educated and pretty much was the voice of the revolutionary movement in Puerto Rico, and many others, joined with him. I'm not an expert, in the revolutionary movement. I just know a few things that I need to know for scripture's sake. But they formed something called the Carpetas, I believe it was. But like I said, I'm not an expert. I would have to do more research to get more in depth with that particular topic. But you had a lot of individuals that were joining the movement to fight against these devils. But what I noticed when I was watching because I've read some stuff on Pedro Albizu Campos, and I didn't know where his education came from because I didn't go that deep into it. But I know he was thrown in prison many times. He was hit with radiation. He was poisoned. So I'm thinking, that that he was a sincere individual, and I don't know if he was sincere at the start and then eventually got corrupted, or if he was already corrupted from the start. There's no information out there that he was corrupted, but I just say this because of the fact that he, being from a poor family, he was educated at Yale University, and Yale University are the breeding grounds for the future leaders of the world, and when this whole revolutionary movement started, it started, causing strife on the island, because they pretty much Puerto Rico is the sugar capital of the world. This is where you get Domino's company from, and what they did was pretty much set up undercover FBI agents, to spy on the people, and when you have a leader that has a movement, and that leader is trying to gather all people together, usually that doesn't bode well. As the scriptures come to mind, I'll bring them out, Lord's will. And if you brothers have any precepts, feel free to post them. I don't have any precepts written down. But I also told a story of Ana Caona. Now, Ana Caona, the word Ana means flower, Caona means golden flower. And she was a cacica, which was a feminine cacique, which was a chieftain on the island of Puerto Rico. And, after many treaties with these devils, Ephraim started fighting back once again. This was the late 1400s, prior to Columbus getting there. And then eventually, once Columbus got there, so on and so forth. And what happened was they had set up I believe it was a senator, if I'm not mistaken, or governor over that region from Spain. His last name was Ovando, I believe, Ovando. And pretty much he spoke peaceably, and she being, I believe she was one of the top chieftains, which Ephraim was going off. But when her husband died, it fell on her lap, so she had to assimilate that role. And pretty much what happened was she, even though suspicious, gathered all the chieftains to this big so-called party. And what happened was, and this, that, the other, there was festivities going on, and all of a sudden they turned on the chieftains, grabbed all the chieftains up, brought them into this one hut, tied them up and burnt it, and then they hanged her. So pretty much what happened was, she was, even though I thought she was a sellout, from doing some more research, I'm finding out that it was sincere, but the problem was that all those chieftains were gathered together and destroyed in one place. This is why the name of the lesson is beware of that unity demon. That unity demon is not good, because we're not uniting under the fact that we are Israelites, even though we all are Israelites, all of those different groups, we all are Israelites. You know, we all are brothers in that sense, but we're not all brothers in the sense of the true understanding of the scriptures, because if they're not breaking down the scriptures 100% right, then, you know, we can't have no dealings with them. Now, I know a brother put a precept up, but let me grab this precept real quick, and let me see if I can scroll back to find out the precept that the brother has, because I don't want to just rant without any precepts, you know. So it's Deuteronomy 32:8. When the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, he separated the sons of Adam. He set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. Right, because pretty much the Lord separated everybody. But the unity we're talking about is not unity of all nations. The unity we're talking about is a unity of people in the same cause, fighting the same thing, coming together as one, you know, dealing with the truth. And I'm speaking about the truth now because I'm using these examples out there, you know, to paint a narrative that a lot of times when you see these truth movements, right, scripture movements, and you have, you know, an individual, you know, or a particular organization that is trying to get people's addresses, names, social security numbers, so on and so forth, you have to be leery of that. Now, if you notice, a lot of these truth movements, they come out, they tell a lot of truths, and a lot of stuff is true, but then they always want to sell you something. They always want you, your email or your home address, to send you these products, you know? And what happens is that causes a lot of, you know, information to be brought into one, you know, compact thing, and then from there, the FBI, CIA, whatever, picks, you know, and labels everybody and puts them all in a category. As it says in the book of Revelation 12:12, you know, I'm sorry, 12:10, where the accuser of thy brethren, which they accuse us, but when you go into that word accuser, it goes into the Greek word kategoreo, which means category. They set everything into categories, you know, and by that, they're compiling everybody's information so that when they come with, you know, to find everybody. As to where when things are separated, it's harder for them to gather everybody together. And this is why, you know, I love what we have in Great Millstone, because the Spirit of the Lord is working heavy with Elder Apostle Gabar, Elder Apostle Tahar, Elder Apostle Gabar also, and other apostles and bishops, but Elder Apostle Tahar, in that, you know, everything that the Spirit has him and us do is contrary to what everybody else is doing. You know, we used to have them big Passovers, we used to have different things like that, but slowly but surely, we used to pass out flyers, you know, on 34th and 7th, and Pastor said, nope, you know, put a kibosh on that, because they can get the flyers and doctor them up and say, you know, put shit on it, you know, that, and our address is on it, so it's going to link back to us. So that was, well, kibosh was put on that, and kibosh was put on those big, you know, gigantic Passovers, have smaller Passovers, because this makes it harder for them to maneuver to get everybody. You see? So, you know, in the case of, you know, the island of Puerto Rico being taken, you know, they did a divide and conquer, to where the people there were suspicious of each other after, you know, they rolled on people, you know, and this is the point. The whole thing is divide and conquer. All right. And there's other examples, Lord's will, as we go on. Anacaona, they grabbed everybody together into one big, you know, area and destroyed everybody at once. You see, all of the leaders they destroyed at once, you know. So anyways, 2 Corinthians 6:14 says, be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers, right? Because if you have somebody that has 95% truth, but then 5% lies, it corrupts the whole thing. You know, there are brothers out there in different camps that are teaching a lot of truth, but they go off on certain things. We can't join together with them just because they're Israelites. It doesn't work like that. Yahushua said, who is my mother, who is my brother, who is my sister, but they that do the work of my Father. The same as my brother and father, the same as my brother and sister and mother. You know, we have to deal with individuals that teach the same doctrine. Not because we come from the same nation does that mean we all come together. And you have to be aware of those individuals that are trying to bring that unity demon together. Because a lot of times, whether sincere or insincere, you know, that is detrimental, because this causes everything and everyone to be at the same time where these devils can come and get you. You know, we have to be like the spirit. The spirit, you know, you don't know where it's coming from, you don't know where it's going. You know, it's moving in many different directions. And this is why Barakatah Yahweh Bashem Yahushai for all the splits. Even though back then, you know, it hurt for the splits to happen, because we loved all of those men, our elders and everything, but it was necessary, and we understand and see now why it was so necessary. Because eventually that school would become corrupted to where it is now, where you don't even hear about them. The ICGJC, that's desert teaching. You don't hear nothing about them. You know, other groups have been corrupted, but the truth, which is, it has a very narrow path, you know, has still flourished in the midst of all of that chaos and confusion. So Barakatah Yahweh Bashem Yahushai for that. So be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers, for what fellowship hath righteousness with unrighteousness? Right. What fellowship hath righteousness with unrighteousness? Because if something is not true, it's a lie. There's no in between. There's no category of in between. All right. You have good, you have evil. You have light, you have dark. You have hot, you have cold. There's no in between. All right. It says, and what communion has light with darkness? None. Light is as far away from darkness as darkness is far away from light. There's no in between. It says, and what concord had Yahushua with Belial? Right. What concord has the Messiah with the devil? None. You either on Yahushua's side, Yahweh Bashem Yahushua's side, or you on Satan's side. Or what part hath he that believeth with an infidel? Right. You can't just come together in unity because, you know, we are Israelites. Yes, fact is we are all Israelites, but the fact is that we don't all teach the same thing. So it's impossible for us to all come together into one. So beware of that unity demon. All right? Because that unity demon, you know, doesn't benefit. Because the Lord said he's not the author of confusion. All right? And what that does, that unity demon does, outside of, you know, possibly, you know, get brothers pinched by these devils, it also causes confusion. Because nobody wants to offend anybody, so they're going to let everybody teach what they teach. But if they have a unity camp and they're out there teaching, the person that comes up to ask a question is going to get edified, so-called, based off of the belief of the individual teaching and not the correct doctrine, because others that believe different than they do are not going to correct them. Let's go real quick before we continue in 2 Corinthians. 1 Corinthians 1 and 10. Now I beseech you, brethren, by the name of our Lord Yahushua HaMashiach, that you all speak the same thing. This is what creates the brotherhood, sisterhood, motherhood, so to speak. You know, as Yahushua said, who is my mother, my sister, and my brother? They that do the will of my Father. The same thing, speaking the same thing. That is the true unity. Not coming together under the banner of being Israelites. That is not, you know, what this thing is about. And you have a lot of Israelites out there still to this day that have that mindset that why we just can't all come together. And that just shows you that this individual that says that is basing their statement on emotions, because they don't understand this. Because if they really were reading the scriptures, why didn't Yahushua and the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the lawyers and the scribes, you know, and the high priests and all that, why didn't they all come together? Were they not all Israelites? Did they not all believe that they were Israelites? Did they not all read from the Torah, so on and so forth? Why didn't they all come together in unity back then? Because that's not what the Most High wants. You know, Yahushua said, matter of fact, I believe that's Luke. Let me read that real quick. Luke, because this shows that these individuals are not reading the scriptures. They're just being emotional because they come from the world and then they come into Israel with that same mindset that they had in the world. They never changed. They never put off the old man. You know, they just try to bring the old man into the truth and try to fit the old man with pieces of the truth on them. It don't work like that. No, you have to put off the old man to be able to put on the new. Everything you knew in the world, you got to let go and start all over again as a baby. And another thing, you have older individuals that come into the truth, right? Which you do have times when older individuals come into truth and they make it through, because but you have a lot of times you have older individuals that come into the truth with the mindset of, you can't teach me nothing. I know I'm an Israelite, but I'm older than you, so I can teach you a thing or two. And that's the wrong mindset, because that's an old bottle, you know, that you're putting new wine into that's starting to leak. All right? So that doesn't work either in a lot of cases, but you do have exceptions to the rules. You have older brothers that come, the Lord brings them in later, but they're fit and they're meat. Like the John the Baptist said, bring forth fruits meet for repentance. And some of them brothers are meat for repentance. MEET, which means right. So this is Luke 12:51. Suppose ye that I am come to give peace on earth, I tell you nay, but rather division. So Yahushua said that he was bringing division. So what is this unity demon all about? There could be a lot of nefarious reasons for it. There could be some, you know, benevolent reasons. You know, they probably really, you know, are trying to bring Israel together, you know, because they think that that's the right thing to do. But for the most cases, those unity, you know, or when people try to, not just unity camp, just when people try to unite it, is under nefarious reasons, you know, to make it easier for the wolf to get at the sheep. All right, so going back to 1 Corinthians, right, 1:10. Now I beseech you, brethren, by the name of our Lord Yahushua, that you all speak the same thing, and that there be no division. Those are the isms, schisms. You know? It says, but we cannot be divided by doctrine and just come together because we are all Israelites. No, it doesn't work like that. Does not work like that. Okay? We have to come together for the sake of the doctrine. We all have to speak the same thing before we can agree eye to eye. You know, the unity part of all Israel coming together will come in the kingdom. You know, and the elect from among the different groups are going to come together at the end, because it says, then shall they see eye to eye. You know, so the only ones that are going to come together now are the ones that see eye to eye as far as the doctrine is concerned. You know, they're teaching about the MOTB being the micro C hip. You know, they according to truth, and not 95 to 98% truth, and then 2 to 5% is a lie. No, it don't work like that. A little leaven at the whole lump. You can have a minuscule amount of lie, and it could destroy the whole truth. You know? So when we go to Ephesians chapter 1, right? I'm sorry, not chapter 1, Ephesians chapter 4. Ephesians chapter 4. Let me see where it starts at. Right. I'll start at 3. Endeavoring to keep the what? The unity of the Spirit, not the unity of being Israelites. We have to keep the unity of the Spirit, which is what? This truth, the Ha-Racha Kodash, you know, the truth of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua through the Racha Kodash, which is the Holy Spirit. All right? That's how we keep that tight bond. Endeavoring to keep the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. That's what binds the piece together. Everybody speaking the same thing, not coming together under the banner of being Israelites. That is not how this works. It says there is one body and one spirit, even as you are called in one hope of your calling. One Lord, one faith, one baptism, one power and Father of all, who is above all and through all and in you all. Right? Now, when we jump down to the 11th verse, and he gave some apostles and some prophets and some evangelists and some pastors and teachers. For what? For the perfecting of the saints. Perfecting in what? Not perfecting in the flesh, perfecting in the spirit. Those that are perfect in what? In understanding. Not coming together just because we're Israelites. This truth that we teach, this doctrine, this gospel that we teach, is taught to give the perfect understanding to the saints that are a part, which are the Israelites, who are a part of the body. And the ones that are a part of the body are the elect of the nation of Israel. That's what this truth is for. That's what the teachers are for, to perfect the saints coming through the gate, so that they can all be of the same mind the same thing, have the same understanding, teach the same thing. That is true unity. That is unity, man. That is that is true unity. The perfecting or the bond of peace what cements things together. Everything else is confusion, and the Lord is not the author of confusion. All right. Then it says, till we all come in the unity of the what? The faith, not the unity of being Israelites. You have to be an Israelite, yes, of course, but that's not the only criteria. That is a part of the criteria. The rest of it is coming in the bond of peace through the unity of the faith, which is the unity of the doctrine or the understanding of the truth. It says, and of the knowledge of the Son of the Most High unto a perfect man. Through what? The knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of the truth. It says, unto the measure of the stature of the fullness of Yahushua, because Yahushua gave to the apostles, which were disciples at the time, then became apostles, and they spread their word out. The only one that didn't come through that gate was the Apostle Paul, because Yahushua went directly to him, because he was on a different level. And he was going to be used as the vessel to gather the Israelite foreigners from among those different Hellenized areas. All right, but that goes into something totally different. All right. So, going back to 2 Corinthians 6 and now 16, and what agreement have the temple of the Most High with idols? For you are the temple of the living power, as the Most High have said, I will dwell in them and walk in them, and I will be their power, and they shall be my people. Right, because the thing that keeps that bond of peace is the unity of the Spirit, which is the true understanding of this truth. That is a true unity, of the scriptures, not coming together because we're all Israelites. Wherefore come out from among them, and but be ye separate. We cannot be together just based off of being Israelites. And no matter how many times you say this, Jake just doesn't get it. They don't get it. They're still operating under the emotions of the West. They're not operating under the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of the scriptures. Because the scriptures tell us there will be divisions. What Bible are they reading? And these things that these guys do when they bring these unity camps, guess what? That is their own belly. That comes from their own mind. And they know, some of them know, I'm not sure all of them, but I know some of them know that Israel is a very emotional people. And they operate on emotions. And one of the emotions is coming together as one in unity, no matter what you teach. And that is not correct. You see? It says, saith Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, and touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you. See? It says, and will be a father unto you, and you shall be my sons and daughters, saith the Lord Almighty, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. All right? So now, moving on, after I watched the video, I'm going to give you the title again, How the U.S. Stole Puerto Rico. You can type that in, and you can watch the video. It's 21 minutes and 5 seconds long, informative. For those of you that are interested, you don't have to if you don't want to. And pretty much, they were speaking about spying on the people. That also brought to mind, and I have the account of Anacaona here, but I'm not going to read it because I pretty much gave you, the synopsis or the main points that you need out of it. You can research it yourself. But what this brought to mind was a podcast, I guess, for lack of better words, or a radio show that George Gordon did years ago called Groupies. Now, Groupies, right, is how he explained it, how cattle, and birds and all that, they flock together. They move in herds. All right? And when they do that, this is just that mentality. So you have something called the herd mentality. Let me see if something comes up on the herd mentality. The herd mentality meaning. Let's see what comes up. Herd mentality. The tendency for people's behavior or beliefs to conform to those of the group in which they belong. And this is not reason to get involved into something and to believe everything that everybody else believes. The scriptures say, matter of fact, let's get there real quick. Let's go to, I believe that's Romans. I haven't gone to this in years. Romans chapter 14 and verse 5. One man esteemeth one day above another, another esteemeth every day alike. Let every man be fully persuaded in his own mind. And how do you do that? By searching the scriptures. Let's go to St. John, chapter 5, and verse 39. It says, search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and they are they that testify of me. So Yahushua said to search the scriptures, right? Then, when we go to 2 Timothy, this is how you break the Bible down. Here a little, there a little. You can read the book of Isaiah 28 chapter, to get understanding on that. When we go to 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 15, it says, study to show thyself approved unto the Most High, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. Why? Because you studied. When you go into the word study, it means to scrutinize. In Spanish, it says escudriñar, which means to scrutinize, to analyze. Let me see. Let's go back to that. The word study is spoudazo, right? Spoudazo is to hasten, make haste, to exert oneself, endeavor, give diligence. And what do you do that? That's in throwing yourself into that study, to find out if those things were true, not through. Just be Berean minded. Be Berean minded. Look at these things so that way you can be fully persuaded in your mind that what you're teaching and you're into is the truth. And it will show, when you're out there teaching or when you're doing your lessons, it will show. All right. So, we were dealing with the groupies. Now, the groupies is a herd mentality, which we read. The herd mentality is the tendency for people's behavior or beliefs to conform to those of the group to which they belong. And what they would do is you would have an individual set up a movement or set up something that he believes, that others would believe, that would gather all into one place. And what that gathering all into one place, getting everybody's name and social security number and address, gives the Fed, CIA, or whatever group all of the information they need to surveil all of these people so that when they roll on them, they can roll on them all at one time. Makes it easier for them. So here it is, this wolf in sheep's clothing is doing all the footwork and hard work for these individuals that are spying on this particular group, because they are a problem. Just like the revolutionary movement that took place on the island of Puerto Rico, headed by Pedro Albizu Campos, and you had the Carpetas. I believe those were the followers, if I'm not mistaken. Like I said, I'm not an expert, so this is what happened. So in this lesson that George Gordon was going into, the groupies, he brought in, the Bay of Pigs, right? Which was a situation that happened, I believe that was in the 60s with Cuba. And what happened was you had a movement that did not agree with Castro. Castro was being set up by the U.S. to be the leader of that island, Cuba. And what they did was they sent certain individuals to gather all of those individuals that were against Castro, with the promise of giving them rations, giving them ammunition, giving them weapons to fight what was known now as the Bay of Pigs. So what they did was they gathered everybody together into one, brought them to the island, gave them all of the ammunition and stuff that they needed, but they mislabeled all of the different cartons that they had they, instead of the 30 I forgot what was it, the different cartridges and ammunition for the weapons, they mislabeled everything. Some stuff they put food on it, some stuff they put weapons on it, some stuff they put the wrong bullets, they labeled the wrong bullets in it. So by the time they opened all that stuff up, pretty much they got effed up, and they were not able to carry any of that stuff out because everything was everywhere. So it was the point was not to give them the right stuff. The point was to get them all into one place, and from there they got cut down. Some of them arrested. I don't know. I don't remember all the particulars behind it. But the point is that they gathered everybody together that believed in this one thing just to destroy them, because Castro was being set up by the U.S. On that island of Cuba. You see? And that also led me, because what it was spies that were going out and gathering these people for the slaughter, like your typical Judas goat. All right? And what that brought to mind was something called the Frumentari. Now, the Frumentari was a special force of spies, intel of the ancient Roman Empire, and they were paid to go around, in plain clothing, like you have these plain clothes cops, plain clothes DTs, so on and so forth, and to gather, the people that believed that were speaking against Caesar, and that was another way of them getting them to get locked up, get hit with fines, in some cases be put to death, because the Frumentari also doubled as, individuals that would kill. They were pretty much mercenaries too. They would kill individuals that the higher ups, emperors, and that didn't like. You see, so it was pretty much a whole psyop. And this is why you have to beware of that unity demon, because you don't know what the intentions of these individuals are, whether the intentions are noble or not. You don't know what the intentions of others are. All right. The scriptures speak about the hireling. Let's go real quick to first. Let's go to the book of Ezekiel. Let's go to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 13. Then after that, we'll go to St. John, chapter 10. And I'm going to read a little bit about the Frumentari, Lord's will. Ezekiel 13:4. O Israel, thy prophets are like the foxes in the deserts. That's why scriptures speak about the leaders of this people cause them to err. And the Israelites, their fear towards the Most High, for the most part, is taught by the precept of men. This is why you have to search. This is why you have to look things up in order for you to be fully persuaded in your own mind and not just following blindly, just because you trust an individual. You see? Because the Bereans trusted the Apostle Paul, but they went also back and researched what the Apostle Paul said. They didn't just believe it because the Apostle Paul taught it, even though they believed him to be a man of the Lord. They also went back and double checked what he said to make sure for themselves that he was what he was saying was the right thing. You see, which is the right mentality to have. Verse 5, you have not gone up into the gaps, right? Because you even have some of these leaders that don't even go out anymore on the streets. It says, neither made up the hedge for the house of Israel to stand in the battle in the day of the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, right? Because the time of Jacob's trouble is coming. The end is coming. And they're putting the people to sleep. They're not guiding the people in the right direction. They're not warning Jake of Jacob's trouble. They're not warning Jake of the MOTB, which is the micro C hip. They fight vehemently against the micro C hip being the MOTB. It could be anything else, but it can't be the micro C hip. Nope, that's not it. It could be a pap smear. It could be anything else, but it's not the micro C hip. Anything but that. Why? Because Great Millstone teaches that, and this is what's going to cause the destruction of a lot of individuals, because they don't want to see certain things or teach certain things because Great Millstone teaches it, and they have a disdain so heavy for Great Millstone that they will not teach anything that we teach, even though it's the truth and beneficial to them. And that's what's going to cause their destruction, basing things off of emotion and not facts. So it says, they have seen vanity and lying divination, saying, the Lord saith, and the Lord have not sent them. And that's true, the Lord did not send them. And they have made others to hope that they would confirm the word, right? Because they're looking, well, Great Millstone says this. Nope, don't worry about it. That's not what it is. It's sin. Or it's this, it's that, it's the other. And the people are like, okay, because they're looking for that confirmation for them to believe, because they're not studying. They're not being Berean minded. They're not looking things up. They're being guided by emotions, and they're blindly following their leaders. See? And that's why we tell you, don't believe it because we said it. Go research it for yourself. That way you can be fully persuaded in your own mind. Have you not seen a vain vision? And have you not spoken a lying divination? Whereas you say, the Lord saith it, albeit I have not spoken. And they're pretty much what they are, is nothing but a bunch of hirelings. And we know what Yahweh Shai said about the hirelings. This thing is pretty slick when you learn how to use it. Alright, I'm going to go straight to the point. St. John 10:11. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd giveth his life for the sheep. But he that is an hireling, what is a hireling? Somebody that is hired to do a job. In this case, those are the purse takers, the stacks takers, the bag takers out there that take the bag to corrupt the word, that Judas purse taking individuals that call themselves leaders. They should be ashamed of themselves. But he that is an hireling and not the shepherd, whose own the sheep are not. See, if the wolf coming, right, and what is the wolf? That is all of this stuff that's going on, prophecy-wise, that's, bringing in the MOTB, which is the micro C hip, the time of Jacob's trouble. You got this situation where you have the UBI, they're pushing the UBI, who's $100 million, I believe it was $200 million that they're proposing for this new thing where they're giving people money under the UBI, the Universal Basic Income, because that is the setup for the future of the world. Because eventually you will have the micro C hip. They showed you in that short cartoon where the individual had that, people had that, and then they would rations would be brought to them. You know, all of their livings, everything would be taken out of their card, and they had a certain amount of time to use it. Otherwise, they would lose it, because of the wave of the future is everybody micro C-hipped with the MOTB, you know, so that nobody can own anything but still be happy, so to speak, as they said, you know, because they don't want you to have any savings. They don't want you to be self-sufficient. They want you to be totally dependent on them. Therefore, if you're totally dependent on them, you have to conform to whatever rules and regulations and, you know, system they set up in place in order to function. You see? So that's the wolf coming. Time of Jacob's trouble and all of these things, and they're not warning them. And leaveth the sheep and fleeth, and the wolf catcheth them, right? They get caught up into that system. Why? Because first and foremost, they're not part of the elect. Second of all, they were being vigilant. Scriptures speak about being circumspect, being vigilant, keeping your eye on these things. Watch as well as pray. You know, looking out for certain things. You know, measuring the time. How do you measure the time? By looking at the prophecies that are, or reading the scriptures, studying the scriptures, and look and comparing it to things that are happening in the world to let us know what time period, what time frame we're in as far as prophecy is concerned. It says, and the wolf catcheth them and scattereth the sheep. And this is what they're doing. All right. So now when we go to the frumentari, right? The frumentari is FRUMENTARI. Double I at the end. Frumentari. It says the frumentari were an ancient Roman military organization used as an intelligence agency. Bring to mind the FBI, CIA, so on and so forth. They began their courier service and developed into an imperial spying agency. Their organization would also carry out assassinations. The frumentari were headquartered in the Castra Peregrina and were run by the Princeps Peregrinorum. They were disbanded under the reign of Diocletian due to their poor reputation amongst the populace. Yeah, because they were doing a lot of fuckery. History. It had been a long-standing policy of the Roman legions and armies of occupation to utilize informers and spies, but never in an organized fashion. This was especially true in the city of Rome, which was rife with whispers and endless conspiracies. The frumentari was possibly established by Domitian, which was the last of the Flavian dynasty, although they only appear in records shortly after his reign in the early 2nd century. Yeah, and this is why, because it was a secret organization. If you have a secret organization, they're not going to have, you know, a secret organization is not going to have a whole lot of information written about them. Okay? Though Trajan would later centralize their location in Rome, during their early history, they were tasked with supplying grain to the military, delivering messages between the provinces and the empire, and collecting tax money. Because they were tax collectors that became spies, that became, you know, assassins, so on and so forth. They were sometimes called nomas, or nomads in Latin, to protect their identity in enemy territory. After the end of the Flavian dynasty, the frumentari developed into a police force. They worked as a non-commissioned officer with Praetorian cohorts to police the populace, and that's what it was about. And that's all you had to be, because that's what they're doing, policing the populace. The populace. This organization was part of the military, and its members were legionnaires. Members of this group were recruited from the military. By the 2nd century, the need for an empire-wide intelligence service was clear. But even an emperor could not easily create a new bureau of investigation. Bring any bells? This was the ancient FBI, ancient CIA, with the express purpose of spying on the citizens of Rome's far-flung domains. And what they would do is they would act as if they were against the Caesars. They would act as if they were a part of the group that you belong to, just to, you know, get you to say what you had to say. And then it says a suitable compromise was found by Hadrian. He used the frumentari as a spying agency because their duties brought them into contact with enough locals and natives That's why you got to beware of that unity demon. And even George Gordon said in that lesson, you know, the thought just escaped my mind. Salaki, let me read that again. He used the Frumentari as a spying agency because their duties brought them into contact with enough locals and natives. There was a point that he had made that just escaped my mind. But nevertheless, let's move on. Allow them to acquire considerable intelligence about any given territory. Alongside these duties, they also may have overseen and guarded mining operations. And it goes on and on. Secret police, so on and so forth, intelligence agency. And it's not, it's a very short read, but we're going to leave it there, in the interest of time. So now let's go to a couple more precepts. Let's go to the book of Galatians, chapter 2. So you got to be aware of these individuals that are always trying to get unity, camps, trying to always get unity, people to all to come together as one. You don't know what that shit is all about. And you have a lot of wolves out there, that are bag takers, that don't give a fuck about the sheep. They only care about themselves. They're serving their own belly. That's why they're doing their own thing. Because if you really were about serving Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, you would take care of, how you teach the doctrine and the things that you bring out about the doctrine. You wouldn't just be teaching any old wishy-washy thing just to get money. That's why scripture says that the gift destroyeth the heart. Galatians 2:4, and that because of false brethren unawares brought in, who came in privately to spy out our liberty, which we have in Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, that they might bring us into bondage. And this is what it's all about. Bringing the individuals that they deem a hazard to their agenda under bondage. Just like it happened in many different times. We have the example of Cuba, the Bay of Pigs. We have the example of the group and the things that precept, and then one or two more precepts, if I could find those. Let me just type this in here real quick. Just bear with me 1 second. All right, that's one. So let's read this one. Luke chapter 20 and verse, I started at 19. And the chief priests and the scribes the same hour sought to lay hands on him, and they feared the people, for they perceived that he had spoken this against them. And they watched him and sent forth spies. See? So there were spies feigning themselves to be just men. Yahweh Shai would pick them out every time. It says that they might take hold of his words. You see? That's what the Frumentari did. That's what others did that posed as believers in that movement, and brought, into captivity, into death, into situations, the believers in Yahweh Shai. Because this is what we're really concerned with. We're concerned with the believers in Yahweh Shai, the elect, that they might take hold of his words, and so they might deliver him unto the power and authority of the governor, that they may go into the gates of the nobles. All right? So you can read the rest. Let's go from there. Let's go to the book of, Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus, chapter 11. Just bear with me 1 second. And verse, I'll give you the verse right now. 29. Bring not every man into thine house. That's every brother ain't a brother. And some of you individuals are going to go the hard way. You think just because a guy says shalom, he wears a garment, has a beard, that he's a brother. No. Scriptures speak about a friend. You have to prove a friend before you can actually, open up that individual. They have to be proven. How is a brother proven? Through afflictions. It says, for the deceitful man trains. See, he's always looking for a way to deceive you. Remember, these individuals are trained just on the spot. If something seems suspicious, right on the spot, they have an excuse or something that they could say to get them out of that situation. So they have many trains. Like as a partridge taken and kept in a cage, so is the heart of the proud. And like as a spy watcheth he for thy fall. See? So they're watching for our fall. For he lieth in wait and turneth good into evil. See? Because this is a movement. It's not a movement. I hate using that word, but I hate using the word movement and community. But this is the truth that's being taught. It's a good thing for the future. Yahweh Bashem Yahushai's kingdom / Yasha Allah, the Israelites. The world being reigned in righteousness, the wicked being put out, every wicked thing being put out. For he lieth in wait and turneth good into evil, and in things worthy praise he will lay blame upon thee. A heap of coals is kindled, and a sinful man layeth wait for blood, and that's what they do. They lay wait for blood. Take heed of a mischievous man, for he worketh wickedness, and he lest he bring upon thee a perpetual blot. Receive a stranger into thine house, and he will disturb thee and turn thee out of thine own. Especially those guys, a good word, they never up strife. They're always they're giving good words. That flattery demon. All right, and there's other scriptures, but I'm gonna leave it there. Lord's world, this was edifying. Beware of that unity demon. If the Spirit allows me to do another lesson later on, Lord's will, I will. Just a reminder, once again, you brothers out there, Babak Shah, go to the brother's page with the new moon, the brother Corner from New York, to his page. Those of you that know it, pass that around. Pass the video of the new moon out. Upload the video. Do one of those posts where the new moon is up, Babak Shah. Get the word out, because I don't have a way to download it, to upload it here. This is why I haven't downloaded the camp videos from the Odyssey page. But Lord's will, when I get a chance to get all that stuff done, I will do that. And I appreciate it. So with that, I pray that you brothers and few sisters were edified. Till the next time I say Shalom.